Welcome. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to create and publish your podcast. It's free. That's right, free to download. With built-in tools to help you record and edit your podcast from your cell phone or any smart device. Anchor also distributes your podcast on virtually any platform that streams podcasts, like Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple and Google Podcasts, and many more. You can even monetize your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor is your one-stop app for podcasting. Remember, it's free. Go to anchor.fm to create some amazing content.
Powered by Riverside.
Welcome to the Trigger Warning Talk podcast, where we have uncensored conversations. That's right, these are adults talking to adults, so no kids. If you got kids in the room, you might want to move them to another room because, you might hear some adult language in here. And we don't censor anybody. We exchange information. That's right, no therapy here. This is not a therapy session. And we have a ton of resources for all that are going to be listening to this podcast. We are streaming on all major platforms and some non-major platforms. I'm getting tongue-tied because I'm excited. We also are going to be showing this podcast episode via video, and it will be streamed on two places: Spotify and our YouTube channel, Pending Consulting Solutions LLC. Definitely check that out because probably about 90% of the interviews that we do on the Trigger Warning Talk podcast are available via video. So we got a very special guest in the building today. I'm going to introduce her in a few seconds. I got some housekeeping stuff that I got to get out. So if you are triggered at any point during this podcast, please, if you need immediate help, call 911. That starts all the documentation, the recording, and the resource help that anybody may need immediately. If you don't have an immediate need, but you need resources, we have a bunch of phone numbers and websites that are listed in every episode of the Trigger Warning Talk podcast in the show notes. We have the numbers for domestic violence. We have the numbers for human and sex trafficking. If you have been a survivor of a sexually based offense or offenses, we have the number to RAINN. That's Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. They cover all of those sexually based offenses. If you are suicidal, we provide the number to the National 24/7, 366-day-a-year hotline, and that's 988. That's available here in the US of A, 24/7. Just call 988. It could be you, it could be somebody you know, it could be a stranger. They also have some behavioral health resources that they offer. If you are someone who is dealing with substance abuse, it could be drugs or alcohol. If you are a supporter of one of those individuals, we have 3 resources available. We have the number and websites for Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and finally, Al-Anon. I want to introduce a very special guest on the Trigger Warning Talk podcast, where we talk about human and sex trafficking, domestic violence, sexually based offenses. We end every episode with a missing person case. The one that we're going to cover today is a young man that Mrs. LP, our resident true crime detective, she is a missing person expert. She gave me this very interesting story. This young man, his name is Jalik Rainwalker. Jalik Rainwalker. I'm going to play the news stories right under 2 minutes. It's a very interesting story and case. That being said, I want to introduce our guest today, Cheryl Gibson. She's a financial planner, coach, author, speaker, and a serial entrepreneur. Cheryl, along with her husband, Wayne, who have been together and married 35 years. I'm going to give them 35 years. So it's on record, Mr. Gibson. You heard it from your brother, LP. Cheryl, along with her husband, Wayne, have focused in the area of helping couples reach happiness and ultimate fulfillment in their relationships. marriages and life by hosting Think and Grow Your Marriage retreats and workshops worldwide. You know what? I didn't know you did that. I'm gonna have to, me and Mrs. LP gonna have to join one of these retreats. As a result, Coach Cheryl has helped many entrepreneurs, businesses, and women specifically gain more knowledge. Now, one of the things that we're going to be talking about is Cheryl went through a bad marriage that resulted in violence, and she now teaches women how to get the life they deserve with sound proven information and scientific principles. And so we got her contact information on the screen for those that are going to be watching. We have her IG page. We also have her website. She, along with myself, have a digital business card. It's called a 10K card. If you want to get in touch with Cheryl, you just open up a Google page or your browser or what have you, and go to Cheryl with the S 10K.com. I'll have that link for her 10K card along with her IG and her website available in the show notes. We're going to be talking about Miss Cheryl's previous marriage that was dealing with domestic violence. And we're also going to be talking about how can anybody, any gender, because I know Ms. Cheryl focuses on women primarily, this information can be disseminated and utilized by any gender when it comes to financial literacy and specifically how to move on with your life after a domestic violence relationship. What are some of the things that you need to be aware of? Because sometimes people use acts of violence in a domestic situation. They may hide money. They may keep the checkbook. They might disseminate money in spurts here or there. They may be really narcissistic in their abuse in terms of how they deal with the finances. We're going to talk about that and much, much more. I'm going to give the mic to Miss Cheryl Gibson. Miss Cheryl, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I am glad to be here. I'm glad we're doing this.
You know, when I thought about this particular podcast episode, I kept thinking about your room that you do on Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time in Loyalty and Friends. Will you tell us about that room real quick?
Absolutely. So it's actually called Money Mindset Saturdays. And that's where I'm actually teaching lessons to make sure that you know financial literacy. We're not only talking about it, but we're literally giving solid strategies so that you can build wealth. So you know how to save more, make more, multiply the money that you have, and actually protect it and create generational wealth. So we actually give you the tools, the tips, and everything you need so you can actually do it. So it's a really, really good room. I recommend anyone coming in and listening to it because it can't do anything but help you build wealth.
That's right. And this room is every Saturday in Clubhouse, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for an hour. The information is free. You don't have to pay for it or anything like that. Now, if you do want to partake in some of the programs that Ms. Cheryl does, we got a website, like I said, on the screen. We have her contact information, and we're going to talk about that towards the end of the program. Ms. Cheryl, I want to start at the beginning for you, kind of things
Sorry, I can't do that. You're not listening to iTunes.
Oh, Siri. We love Siri, but we hate her also. Never mind Siri. I gotta edit that out. I wish I could like cut it off or something like that. I don't know what triggers her or whatever, but anyway, I'll edit that out. Ms. Cheryl, I want to start at your beginning. I want you to tell us about your previous marriage because you've been married twice. What significant information do you want to share with us about that? Because you talked about that marriage was bad and it resulted in violence.
It really was. It really was. So I'll take you all the way back to the beginning. So I actually met him when I was pretty young. I met him when I was 15 years old. So right there could kind of tell you where we started having issues. There was an age difference of 7 years. I'm 15 years old. He's 22.
Okay.
when I first met him. I had flags that were coming up, and I just didn't pay attention to those flags, to be honest with you. I just didn't pay attention to them. And my mother knew. My mom actually told me, hey, you should not, this is not the way you need to be going. But it's like, hey, you don't know him like I know him. You don't know him like I know him. And so what I will tell you is that I ended up marrying this guy as soon as I was able to. Actually did it against my mom's will, did it while she was at work, called her to tell her, hey, mom, by the time you get home, I'm going to be married. And she said, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm leaving right now. And I go, Mom, by the time you make it here, it'll be done. And I remember us driving there and me having this feeling that, you know what, this doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right. And turning the car around, and he convinced me that, hey, we love each other. We're getting ready to have a child. We should be together. And I married him. When I married him, then the representative went away and the real guy showed up. And I say the representative went away because he didn't show me all this other stuff. I didn't know that this guy had a drug problem, and he had a drug problem. And there was a bad problem. The drug of his choice was PCP. So I can actually recall one time him being on the car upside down. And this is why I hate that song. I hate that song by Diana Ross, Upside Down, because it takes me back to him.
Yeah. Wow.
Upside down. And he was literally hanging upside down, eyes going crazy. And I'm like going, what in the world have I gotten into? Because I was not familiar with that. I really was not. And then it became, okay, we're married. I can help him. I can change him. All he needs is a good woman. I'm a good woman. I can help this guy.
Mm-hmm.
No one can change another grown-up. No one can do it. And so a lot of lessons I learned just from being young. And the other lesson was just lessons of hard knocks. And so I'll tell you a couple of things that happened. One thing was I was working. I would come home from work. And I was that hi and bye neighbor. Hi, bye. And I remember one of the girls one time as I was going, bye, or hi, I'm walking into my house. And she's like, wait a minute, Cheryl, wait. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And she says, look, are you moving? And I go, no. She goes, oh, I need to tell you something. I'm like, sure, go ahead. She goes, well, every day when you get up to go to work, he holds a yard sale. And
Are you
he's
serious?
He's selling your clothes. He's selling, look, I'm going to take you all the way back. I don't know if you remember that little dog by Budweiser, that little Spud McKenzie, right?
Spud McKenzie, yeah.
I had gotten these big old beach towels for my kids for the Spud McKenzie dog.
Of course, I remember Spud McKenzie because I'm from St. Louis. Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch is headquartered there. So, yeah. I just thought about
it. Okay, all right. Oh, my God. You got to kind of go old school to remember some of this stuff. So it's like he sold that. I was just at a loss because I couldn't believe somebody could do someone like that. Honestly, I really couldn't. And first of all, I didn't even want to believe her. But I came in my house trying to find stuff, and she was right because she had told me, you know what, the lady down here, she actually brought your boots. She got a couple of outfits from you and the whole deal. And I would be looking for my clothes in the morning to get dressed. Could not find them, was thinking, oh, maybe I still left this in the cleaners, or I just couldn't figure it out, but never had any idea that I was literally sleeping with the enemy. And so that was one thing. We had to actually get the police to come in, knock on the doors of people and try and get my stuff back. And either they were honest and kind enough to give it back, or some of them was like, no, I'll have her stuff. And the police could not force them to give it back to me. So not to mention the embarrassment of knowing the whole neighborhood knows that this guy is doing this to me. And then let's step it up a notch when it began to get violent.
Hold on a second. We titled this podcast episode "The Contracts, the Abuses, the Resolutions" with Cheryl Gibson for a very reason, because we're going to talk about that from the contract aspect, and you talked about that, but we're going to delve into that a little bit more. The contract was your marriage to him. The abuses, which is what you're talking about now, and how you hit whatever that rock bottom was for you to say, I'm done. I got to go to the next level, which is get away from him in this marriage and all that. We're going to talk about those things. Before you jump into that, the reason I wanted to bring up the contract aspect, because we're going to be talking about money too, is you in the room, we do a room on Clubhouse also, a journaling room every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. on the West Coast. And in this journaling room that we held, I hosted a question about risk mitigation. How do you mitigate risk in your relationships, no matter what they are? Intimate partners, it could be friends, family members, strangers, coworkers, or whomever, whom it concerns. And so we talked about how contracts play a part in every relationship that you have, friend, stranger, whomever. And so I told the people that were in the room, in the audience, any relationship is a contract. And a contract is broken down into 3 parts. I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. I'm just telling you basic definitions. That's my disclaimer. Sure. Don't laugh, because look, okay. A contract is broken down in 3 parts. You have an offer, you have acceptance, and you have consideration. The offer is, hey, you want to be my lady? Can we get married? You accept it, even though your mom was like, no, or hell to the no, whatever she said to you. And then the consideration is, for better or worse, richer or poor, sickness and in health, yada, 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 all that stuff. So that's the Cliff Notes version of how a contract works, just in a relationship. So I want to give you the mic back, and I want you to go ahead and talk about the abuses also.
Okay. So, yeah, speaking of a contract, so he violated that contract a couple of ways. But what I will say is I had another situation also, other than him selling everything into the neighbors in the hotel. Then there was another situation where I went to get my hair done. I'm at the beauty shop. Girl finishes my hair. I dig in my purse to go get the money to pay her, and there's no money. And I knew the money was there. I had put it there. And she goes, oh, that's okay, Cheryl. Look, girl, you come back every 2 weeks. I'm good. When you come back, and just hit me back when you come next time. I'm like, no. Because I knew I had my rent money in here also. Okay. I was going to go and get a money order to do it. Okay. And so for me, it was, I'm panicking. I'm freaking out, because it's like, this is more than just my hair. Yeah. So left there, go home, and I go crazy. I mean, I'm lifting everything. I'm going through everything like a mad woman, because this is my rent. I need a place to stay, So I'm really going nuts. And this dude is sitting, talking about my ex-husband, sitting on the couch, holding our baby boy in his lap as he watches me go crazy. And I'm asking him, do you know where it could be? Did you see me put my purse down anywhere? What can it? And the whole deal. Never said a word. Never said a word. He just watched me do my thing. So needless to say, I had to go to my mom, who always, praise the Lord, was there and able to bail me out. And she did. But once again, she's like, you need to be careful. Something is going on in your own house, whether you want to recognize it or not, Cheryl. You need to be careful. And once again, it's me going, I'm not trying to let her know all my business and stuff. I'm trying to handle this on my own. And it got so bad where I did know it was so bad when I knew that this dude was stealing the drugs. He didn't want to go and get any help for it. So I had made the decision that I was going to leave. I was leaving. I wasn't going to be a part of this anymore. And I made up my mind I was going to go to school. I threw papers at night, and I had a job working at AT&T Operator 013, and I worked split shifts. But I knew I needed to go to school so I could get some education. I knew I needed that because I was working hard with 2 little babies on top of that. So I'm doing all this. And then one day he sees me and he says, "Hey, I think I'm ready to have my wife back." Because I had left probably like 2 weeks. And I'm like staying with my mom. Yeah. And he goes, no. This is the day where you're coming home. And what happened was that his mom would watch the kids. So I had to go and get them from his mom's to go. And he was there this time.
Okay.
And so when I tried to make my exit, it was like, I'm not going to even argue with him. I'm just going to get the kids' stuff, get everything together, and just begin to leave. And as I was doing that, yeah, talking about getting triggered. I'm trying not to get triggered as I tell this story, honestly.
So
But,
hold on right there. Hold on right
mhm.
there. So again, this is the Trigger Warning Talk podcast. We are sponsored by Anchor. We are produced by Pending Consulting Solutions, LLC. We're streaming on all major platforms. So that could be Google, Apple, Podbean. We are on Spotify. We have our own YouTube channel, Pending Consulting Solutions, LLC. Spotify, we got so many that are out there. There's like 30 different platforms that we're going to have our podcast on, but we're on at least 15 of them. And so if you're triggered at any point during this podcast and you need help immediately, call 911. If you don't have an immediate need but need help as far as maybe suicidal ideation issues, call 988. That number is available 24/7 here in the U.S. If you have issues with substance abuse, we have the numbers for AA, NA, and Al-Anon also. If you have issues with a domestic violence situation, as we're talking about here, we have the numbers for the domestic violence hotline. We also have the number for RAIN. If you are a survivor of rape, abuse, incest, we can give you the number to RAIN, which is the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. And also trafficking. If you have been human and or sex trafficked, we have that number and that website available in the show notes. At the end of this interview, we're going to showcase a young man named Jaylick Rain. I think it's Rainmaker. That Mrs. LP gave me his information on. I'm going to play that news story and we'll talk about that missing persons case. We're talking with Cheryl Gibson. She is a financial planner, coach, author, speaker, and serial entrepreneur. Our show title is Contracts, the Abuses, and the Resolutions. And so, Cheryl, you were talking about how you had this 2-week separation with your husband, your former husband, who you were married to at the time. You went to pick up the kids from your mother-in-law's house. And what happened?
So as I was picking up the kids and literally just took them, just put them in the car, buckling them up. So, these are kids because they're babies.
Okay.
So that means I'm car seats, the whole deal. So I'm doing all that, getting them in there. And then I just get in the car because I'm getting ready to leave. It's like, I'm not going to even. And he's like, "Where do you think you're going?" And I saw him. I saw him running, brushing up. He's like, "Where do you think you're going?" And it's like, I didn't even say a word. It's just like, I'm just going to leave quietly. He came over to the car. I can see all this happening right now. Came over to the car, puts his hand in the car, snatches the key out. And I'm like, oh, man. And he's like, "You're not going anywhere." And of course, I'm like, "Look, I'm ready to go. I'm not trying to argue with you. I've already been to school. I'm telling you my shift that I'm working. So I'm doing all this stuff. And when I say I'm tired, I really am tired. Just trying to get the kids to go home so I can rest before I have to get up and throw my papers."
Okay.
So anyway, I go try and get the children. He grabs the kids. I get out the car at this point because I'm like, "Look, can you give me the keys back? I'm not trying to fuss with you." And he's like, "No, I'm going to get in the car. We're going home together. You're my wife and we're going home together. And I'm like, oh, no, we're not. So what happened, and I'm going to try not to go too deep, but really hit the points. And so what ended up happening was that he wanted to fight at this point because I'm telling him, no, he can't. And he's telling me, no, you're my wife and you're going to do what I tell you to do. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I remember kind of shaking my head like this. And this guy turned around and he slapped me so hard. I don't know if you guys have seen cartoons, but those cartoons where you see the stars go around the person's head.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you that's some real deal stuff.
Real.
Yeah, it's real. So when he slapped, that is really what happened. And I was kind of like going like, did he just slap the shit out of me? I mean, I'm kind of like in a daze, kind of tripping that this has happened, honestly. And then some guys that actually saw this going on, they came over there because they're like, oh man, you can't, I'm not going to let you hit her like that. Yeah. And he was ready to fight those guys. And he even said, this is my wife. I can do what I want to do. And I'm here to tell you guys, there were no cell phones back then. There were no cell phones. I'm 15 years old. I'm 58 right now. Okay, so this is back in the 80s.
In the 80s.
Yeah, this would be the 80s. This would be the 80s, the late 80s. Yeah. I had my son 85. So yeah, we're like 85, 86. Probably about 86 is when this is going down. So the guys came around him and they're literally going like, well, hey man, well, if you want to throw down, let's go type of thing. So they were ready. And then some of the guys were like, no, man, no, leave him alone. And actually I kind of grabbed the other guy because I'm going like, well, maybe I got somebody who's going to come save me. But kind of like grab those guys. One guy came and kind of said, man, leave him alone. And walked off. And I remember thinking, God. And then his mom came out. His mother comes out and goes, no, I'm not going to let you hit her. Don't put your hands on her again. And his mother like got in front of us. And he told his mother, Mom, if you don't get out of my way, I'll hit you.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
And his mother, like I said, I remember just like yesterday. And I remember his mother said, okay, well, when you hit me, I'm going to take your ass out. Be prepared to have your ass taken out when you do that. And his sister came and his sister said, Mom, let's leave Steve and his wife alone. And Ashley grabs the mother to walk her into the house. And the mother said, no, I will call the police on him before I let him do that. But the sister was like, no, leave him alone. Let him take care. That's him and his wife, Mom. That's their stuff. Let's leave them alone. Yeah. So what ended up happening was he did get in the car. He took over at this point. And I'm in the car and we go on our way to the house. And on our way to the house, he stops at the liquor store. And I remember thinking, this is my chance. I'm going to write a letter. I remember writing and just going, help, just asking for help. If somebody could see this sign and help. And some looked and they look away and keep walking. I'm telling you, this is real life. They look and they walk, and I thought, I can't just leave because my babies are in this car. I can't leave them. I can't pick both of them up enough to get a good run, to get out of here with them. And one thing that he had said also was, he said, I remember, now I know why Babe Bro did what he did. And Babe Bro was a character that had killed his wife and the children and then himself. And so when he said that, then I'm terrified because I'm like, oh my God, I think he's getting ready to try and take us out. That's what I'm thinking. He's got a whole plan here. And I'm like, I can't leave my children because I think I know what he's thinking of doing. So I refuse to leave them. So that night I stayed. He wanted to have sex. We'll be honest with you guys. And I thought, okay, well, maybe if I do that, maybe he'll be cool for a minute and then I can try and make an escape out of here. Maybe I'll just do what he wants and then I'll try and make an escape. And it was a hell of a night. I will tell you that. Because I kept just waiting for him to go to sleep. If he would just go to sleep. Then if nothing else, I will leave the kids, but I'm going to run down to the phone and call my people. If I get to my people, this is all going to go away. If I can just get to them. So I do remember he did go to sleep. I couldn't get the keys, so I'm on foot, but I know I could get to the liquor store. And so I am running, trying to get to the liquor store. And before you know it, he pulls up with the kids in the car with me and seeing me. Yeah, seeing me trying to make it. And I did not make it. And it's like, get in this car and get in this car now. And so I'm seeing my babies. So I got back in the car. To be honest with you guys, I got back in the car and I went back. And he said, so you just really don't want to be with me anymore? And I'm like, no, this is hell. Do you see what you're doing? Do you see what you're doing to our kids? And somehow he did have an awakening. And I remember us being in the bathroom because I'm going, I can't believe that you're doing all this. I can't believe that we have turned into this. This is us now. And I think he did have an awakening. And he turned around and I can kind of feel the air going past me right now. But he took his fist and it went like so close to my head, but he hit the wall instead. And I mean, he put a hole in the wall. So he hit it with all force. And he said, I'll never hit you again. I'll never put my hands on you again. But for me, it was done. It was done. And I just said, okay, all right. Played the game, played the role until that morning I can get up and get away. And I never went back. I didn't care about the stuff. You can have the stuff. I don't care. You can have it. I just want my life. I got it once. I'll get it again. That's right. And it had gotten to that point because then it became like, oh, well, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take that and I'm going to take this. I'm going to take that. I was like, take it. It's yours. You can have it. Well, I want the car. You can have it. I just want my peace of mind. I'll catch the bus. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to be bothered with you no more. And so after going through quite a bit, like I told you, it was bad. It had gotten violent. I was able to get away from him. And it did take a while because I did have to go and get, what do they call those? Where you're supposed to stay away. Yeah, we're supposed to stay away and stuff, right? I went and got those things, which really meant nothing because, you know, they can get away within that time. By the time you get to the phone and call the police, they're gone already. Right. So I remember different times looking up, and this was a 2-story, looking up, and I look out, and here he was looking through the window. Just all kind of crazy shit you would never even think of. I remember trying to go to the store, talking about being harassed and stalked, and here he was. And I'm scared. This guy had been violent with me. So it was pretty bad. It got so bad to the point where I did ask my dad if I could carry a gun. And he said, and this is what even scared me about my dad at that time. May he rest in peace now. But he was like, you don't need to carry a gun. If you want something to happen to him, something can happen to him. And it was like, you know what? I'm not trying to be involved in a murder and stuff. No, I really just want peace of mind. That's really it. And my dad did teach me how to shoot a .44, aim for the body. I mean, it got that bad. But I did get away from him. And the only thing really, you guys, that helped that situation, making sure I got my money right, making sure I got back my own self-esteem, because that took a hell of a toll on my self-esteem and how I thought about myself, that I had allowed myself to get in that situation. It really, really bothered me. And I stayed in there way too long, listening to, I'm just straight up LP, which I think you know. listening to
Yeah.
church, listening to ministers, listening to reverends telling me that no, once you're married, you're supposed to stay married no matter what. Mm-mm. No.
Nope.
I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to tell you no. And finally, what happened was I remember going, because I was like, I will try everything. Because I thought when you're married for, I took this
Sure.
word, the Bible, I took it. When it said you're together, you're together. So I really meant, I was like, I'm a follower. I'm going to do everything he's telling me to do. And you don't divorce unless there is infidelity, right? Otherwise, you don't divorce. So I even remember thinking, well, shoot, do I need to go cheat? Because I got to get out of this situation. I'm just telling you the truth. I didn't know. I was, like I said, I was young when I was with this guy. And it was like, I know there's something better. There's got to be something better. And I will admit something on this podcast that I have not admitted before. It got so bad at one point where I remember sitting in a corner thinking, why am I even here? If this is the life, why am I here? No one should have to live this life here that I'm living, because I was suffering a lot in silence because I was not telling anyone. I was embarrassed. I didn't want anyone to know that I had made such a poor choice, and that these choices, that I had a horrible husband. That's really the truth of the matter. And I was embarrassed and hurt by it. And so I kept a lot of that quiet and I did not share. And I'm here to tell you and all women, that's when you know something's wrong. When you don't want to share what's going on in your household, that's when you know something's wrong. Something's wrong. Because as you know, and you hear me come into those rooms, I'm always telling you, hey, 35 years, I enjoy my husband. And I do. I mean, and you guys, I prayed this husband up, because that first one, I did not pray. I did not pray him up. And it really took a minister one time, because I was constantly searching, constantly praying for help and guidance. And I remember going to church, raising my arms up. When you raise your arms up like this, usually kind of falls back, your blouses or whatever. So for me at that time, I had on a blouse and it kind of fell back. But with this visiting minister was able to see where the bruises on my arm.
Oh.
So when they fell back. So when he walked by and he saw it and he said, hey, I want you to know that you've been unevenly yoked. So it was never blessed by the Lord to begin with. And you're holding on to this situation because you think you're doing his will. And I want you to know that the Lord does not want his people to suffer or be in pain. It is okay for you to leave that marriage. I needed that. I really did. I needed to hear that from a man of God. I really did. Because I had someone that I thought was a man of God, but he was telling me that no matter what, you stay in this. That's really what that one minister was telling us. No matter what, you guys stay there and you figure it out. And I'm here to tell you, it almost ended my life listening to this one person. So a lot of times there's good things. There's a lot of great doctrine in the word, a lot of great doctrine. But I will say to everyone, get on your knees, pray to the Lord, and he will give you the answer. He will tell you what to do. He will bring the people into your life that you need to have, so you have the strength to do what you need to do. And a lot of the things that helped me really was my children. It's one thing for me to decide to mess up my life. It's something else for me to bring two innocent people into this world and destroy their lives. And if I had stayed in that marriage, that's what have happened.
This is the Trigger Warning Talk podcast. We are sponsored by Anchor. We are produced by my company, Penton Pending Consulting Solutions, LLC. We are streaming on all major platforms. this podcast will be available on those platforms, audio, and Spotify, and our YouTube channel will provide the video footage of this particular podcast when it airs. We're talking with the financial guru. I'm just gonna call you that. The money multiplier, Cheryl Gibson, who is telling us about her prior experience with her former ex-husband in a domestic violence situation. This episode is entitled The Contracts, the Abuses, and the Resolutions. And we've been talking about the contracts. We've been talking about the abuses. We're going to move on to the final part of this podcast. And we're going to talk about the resolutions. The reason why I got you on here is because I'm just segueing into what you said about the money. And I always say, Ms. Cheryl, the money is the source. I don't care what we're talking about. We could be talking about relationships. We could be talking about business. We could be talking about anything. The money is the source. For you being in that relationship that was so toxic, so dangerous, so abusive, narcissistic abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse, and all those things. What was it about the money outside of what you talked about before with him selling your items, taking the rent money both of you all lived in the same place. So it wasn't like, you had your own spot and he had his own spot. For you, why did you focus on the money?
For me, money gives you opportunity. If I had money in that situation, it would have been easy for me just to get up and leave.
Okay.
But when you don't have the finances, you tend to stay in situations too long. And that's what happened to me. It was that I was just constantly trying to figure it out. So I'm trying to make my money by, like I said, I was throwing papers at night. I did have a job working at AT&T, and I worked split shifts. And then the free time, I was going to school. So I was trying to make it all happen because I knew if I went to school, I'd get some education and I wouldn't have to work 2-3 jobs. And I'm here to tell you, I did go to school. I did get the education. I hold a master's now and a whole lot of other certifications. But what that master's did, it allowed me from going from 3 jobs to 1 job and paying 3 times as much. So it's so important. That's why I do teach education. I think it's so important. And yes, there's more ways that we can make money other than the traditional ways. But if you don't know, you don't know. And sometimes you're not exposed to certain things. And that's one of the reasons why I do that class, because it's like, if you're not exposed to anything different, new, a way of thinking, a way of doing things, then you don't even know that it's available to you. And I really feel, because I did go through some stuff, that when I talk to you, it's solid information I'm giving you. I'm not going to just talk to you in a way that you can't understand it. And then no matter where you are, because I'm telling you, I didn't have nothing. When I said I didn't have nothing, I didn't have nothing. When I left him, I didn't have anything, because I meant I was getting away from him. And that meant I was leaving everything because I didn't want to fight over stuff.
Absolutely.
So I had to start all over again. And I did. But this time, it was mine. This time, I did it right. This time, because I did it the right way, the stuff stuck. I wasn't in danger, whereas I had been in danger and in jeopardy and then working so hard. So to go from 3 jobs to 1 was a blessing on its own.
Absolutely. When we're talking about the money, I want to ask you, I got one question with 27 parts. This LP, don't laugh, please, because she always she hates when I say that. But I'm like,
because he ain't lying, y'all. It's really gonna be 27 parts. So let's go.
However, because Mrs. LP does not like that, I have consolidated those 27 parts in a handful of questions because we're
Okay.
not going to be on here all day. And, you know, I don't want to create an act of violence situation.
I don't want to be triggered.
Yeah, I don't want to be
Don't
triggered.
trigger me. Don't
I
trigger
don't
me.
want to trigger her. You know, she's in the next room. And if she would have heard me say, I got one question, 27 parts, she would have busted in here and like, LP, why? What? You don't need 27 parts. You can answer 3 questions. What's the problem? So,
Okay.
in the spirit of Mrs. LP, I want to ask you a few questions. What is the first thing that anybody, because, and I'm prefacing this because I know you focus on women, and that's awesome. We know that men go through being victimized and are not always the perpetrator of domestic violence. So the questions that I'm asking you, I'm prefacing them based on any gender. So anybody, because I always say when it comes to trauma, anybody can get it and anybody can give it. So in a relationship, especially an intimate partner relationship, what would you say are some of the first steps that you need to do if you feel, and I'm saying from the standpoint, you're in this relationship, you haven't left yet, it's abusive, and there's money being taken, money being hidden, stuff being sold, and all this stuff. What do you say to those that are going to be listening? What are some of the first steps that you need to do to secure the money for you?
First thing you need to do is start stacking on your own because you have to stack the money so that you can leave. However, what I would say the first step is to get out of that situation. So, what does that mean? That means if you have family, if you have a friend, even if you have to go to a shelter, and I'm here to tell you, I didn't have to stay in this shelter personally, but I've gone and I've spoken to the women that have been there. And I get it. I get it. Sometimes they're there and they're mad and they're pissed that they're there. And they're mad and they're pissed because of what someone else did made them have to end up there. But what I say to all is we have to be responsible for the choices that we're making. And I am not giving the offenders a pass at all, at all. But what I am saying is that we can't give ourselves a pass either. We have to really look at what it is that we're choosing, what it is that we're bringing into our lives. And then why did I make this choice? Why did I make this choice? So the first thing, if you're in a situation, is I want you to get to safety because it could be a life or death situation. So you have to get to safety. And if that means going to a shelter, go to a shelter. There are services there. There are people that really care about you. No, it's a temporary situation. You won't be there forever.
That's right.
But you have to be safe. You have to be able to do anything. And if they take your life, you won't be able to do anything. And as I shared, I was in that situation. And I also shared that I know someone that did lose their lives that was in that situation. And I shared that story on purpose because I wanted you to hear how close I was to losing my life. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted you to hear that someone did lose their life and the children lost their lives also. Oh. So what we're talking about is really, really serious stuff here. And so first thing, get to safety. Once you get to safety, then you can begin to work on your mental because it has been damaged. It has. Your mindset has been damaged. So you do have to know that you are still beautiful. You are still strong. You are still capable. And as long as you've got breath in your body, you are able to change your present situation, period. Because you can have the skills, you can get the skills, you can learn the skills, you can get the knowledge to change your life. And I honestly do use my life, myself, as an example because I was there. That's why I say I used to drive a Pinto, you guys. I drive a Mercedes now. I had to get there. I didn't start off there.
That's right.
Like I told you, I went through a whole lot to finally
Like
get
Drake
there.
said, started from the bottom. Now we here.
That's it. That's it. That's
You
it.
know?
So the mindset. So safety,
Safety.
the mindset. And then
Mhm.
once you get the mindset together, you're going to get the money. Okay. Because we're going to make sure that you get the money. You'll get the money. You're going to learn how to manage your money, learn how to grow your money, learn how to actually invest and multiply. One thing that's been taken away from our community and I'm going to say a lot of people that just have not been exposed to the ways to grow wealth. If your family didn't do it, if you have been in situations or circumstances where it's just like, no, we're just always just trying to make it. And you
That's right.
hear people, they'll talk to you and say, how you doing? Oh, I'm just trying to make it.
Trying
Well,
to
guess
make it.
what? They're going to keep trying to make it, even because of what's coming out their mouth. You can speak into existence what you want. So be careful with what you say.
I'm glad you said that because I hear that shit all the time. I'm just trying to make it, dog. I'm just here, you know, whatever. It's like you're gonna be trying to make it till the day you take your last fucking breath with that mindset. So I'm so glad that you said that. It burns me up when I hear that, and it's painful more than anger. I want to say that to everybody that's listening because you have just stated it so eloquently. When it comes to melanated folks, you know, we didn't grow up in a lot of these environments where that was taught. Financial literacy, uh, pushing education, talking about generational wealth, you know, dealing with systemic racism, how to deal with it and overcome it as best as possible by creating these, I would say, tangible goals. You went to school, you worked multiple jobs, in spite of being in an abusive relationship, in spite of having multiple children who were little babies, in spite of not having the full support of some of the people in your family, like you talked about your sister-in-law, you know, strangers, you know, the guys that were there that could have intervened, some of the people that you were holding the sign up that said help. Now, if that happened nowadays, oh my God, everybody and their mama would be calling 911, you know, but this was a different time. And it wasn't that long ago. We're not talking about 50, 60, 70 years ago. We're talking in the mid 80s. It's 2022 now. So when we're having these discussions about domestic violence or any situation that could be triggering for a person, one of the things that I like to highlight is the resolutions. It's not about just having a dialogue. We don't just trauma dump here. No. What's the action plan? How do we get from A to Z? You might get to Z and have to start over at double A to double Z. We're going to come up with something that's going to help you understand that you don't have to take that shit, that you don't have to be abused. You don't have the right to be tortured. You don't have the right to be punched, something thrown at you, being struck by something, somebody taking the keys, somebody taking your money, somebody's taking your purse, somebody's selling your clothes, your boots, all of these different things. Nobody has the right to do that to you. We don't own anybody. Nobody owns it. We're not talking slavery. That was wrong. Nobody owns anybody. And we got to stop acting like because this is my wife, this is my kid. We don't own our kids. We got to, that slavery shit has infiltrated our whole DNA to a whole nother level that we think that we actually own people because there's a blood tie, because there's a contract, like what we're talking about here. There's a contract, you know, and it's no, hell no, no. Did you hear me say no? No. Rule number one, no. Rule number two, go back to rule number one. No. So you got to have the courage, the strength, and the wisdom to get to that point. And it's not easy. We're not saying, Cheryl, you're not saying it. I'm not saying that it's easy. It's necessary because, again, this can be a life or death situation. And a lot of times, more likely than not, it's death. It don't even have to be a physical death, because there's tons of people, there's volumes of people that have experienced similar situations and are still dealing with the mental health aspect of it. Mrs. LP was in an abusive marriage before she and I got together. There are times when if somebody knocks on the door, she jumps because of a trauma that she experienced in her previous relationship. You know, when we're talking and if there's a disagreement, you know what I do? I don't increase my voice. I lower my voice when we're having a discussion. You know what also made me want to interview you? The day that we were in, I think it was it the journaling room, or were we in the men's barbershop room? It was one of those days. And you told the story, and I want you to tell the story about the incident that almost happened with you and your husband.
With my current husband now.
Yes.
So because I had been used to being in a relationship where people struck out, that was my norm. That's what I knew. That's what I knew. My hair is looking crazy, y'all. I'm trying to fix it because I'm looking at myself and I don't like that look I'm looking at here. Okay, that's better. So basically, I'm gonna give you two things, LP, regarding that. So the first thing would be, first, let me say I'm married to a great guy, you guys. And this is the one I prayed
35 years, Mr. Wayne.
35 years.
Where is he?
Mr. Daryl Wayne Gibson. He's at work. Look, he's a good working man. He's making that money.
Give him our love and tell him that I'm giving him his 35. That's all I'm saying.
I will. You know, I have told him, I said, look, he makes sure that you get your credit for that 35. Okay. Yeah, but me and my husband, we lived together first, the one that I'm with now. And the reason why is because I had gone through so much. I wasn't trying to hurry up and get married. I had to know it was like, you know what? I just jumped into that. I'm going to go a lot slower now. Mm-hmm. And so that was my thoughts on the situation. So we were going slow together and we were living together. And my husband asked me to marry him. And I said, why are you asking me to marry you? We love each other. Everything is working out. Hey, if it ain't broke, we don't need to fix it. We good. And he said, we got children. We can't just be shacking up together. We got kids. We need to get married. And I was like, look, everybody's provided for. We good. So we're going back and forth with this. And finally he said, hold up a minute. You're not holding what that dude did against me and not marrying me. Is that what you're doing? And I had to really think, you guys, because I was, because I've been hurt. All that was traumatic and it did not work. So for me, this is working. It's easy. We getting along good. Let's not mess this up. Let's just stay right here. And my husband was like, no. Do not judge me on what somebody else did. If I do something to you, by all means, hold that against me. But don't hold what he did against me. And that really did wake me up. It really did wake me up. And I'm so glad, like I said, it's been 35 years that I did go ahead and take that leap. But I was scared. I had fear. And that's why I didn't want to do it. And so what I would say is don't let fear prevent you from a life of joy and happiness. So I definitely wanted to cover that. Okay. And then because I had been in an abusive marriage, one time me and my husband now, we were getting into it. We were arguing about something that I truly do not even remember what it was. But we were arguing about something and I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to slap the Ooh, I remember just thinking, oh my, this is gonna be such a good slap. I even hate thinking about that because I'm thinking about how I was thinking back then because it was like, oh, this gonna be, oh, I'm gonna get him so good. It might even leave a mark on him. I mean, I was really thinking like that, which is ill thinking. And I went back because it was like, I'm going to get some momentum on this bad boy. Because, woof. And I remember going back. And as I came around, getting ready to do it, he caught my hand in midair. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm getting ready to slap the." He's like,
No
"Oh,
censorship
no,
here,
no."
so whatever you had to say, you can say it.
He was like,
He's like,
but because
no.
I was getting ready to slap I was going after it. I was going in. This is what I knew. This is what's the training I had from my first marriage.
Okay.
Was, hey, when you get upset, hey, we. And so I was ready to, but he caught me and he said, no, 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 no. So my husband is 6'2.5", this one here. And he said, you know what? He says, just look at my height on you. He's like, with me not even trying to hurt you, I could hurt you. We're not trying to, but just trying to stop you from trying to hurt me, I could hurt you.
Yeah.
Just because of my strength. He's like, we don't want that in this relationship. I don't do that. And I don't want to be hit. So I will never hit you, but don't hit me. I'm a grown man. And he was right. And it did change the dynamic because I thought, you know what? I was so wrong. Because like I told you guys, I had all my zestiness. I was ready. I was like, oh, this is what it all came and really had to check me. So it has really been a blessing. However, you can really get messed up and bring in a whole bunch of messy stuff.
That's right.
From having been used to messy stuff. So that's why it is important. There is a retraining that had to happen. I'm totally upfront. It's a retraining. I had to reprogram my mind. I had to make up my mind who I wanted to be. Had to make up my mind what type of a relationship I wanted to have. And then actually do the things to have that. And so we do SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunity to make it better, and anything that may hinder it. We do that on the regular. And so I would tell you, you don't only do it in your business, you do it in your relationships. Anything that really matters to you, you want to improve. And a SWOT analysis is the perfect tool to use for that.
We talked about that the other day in the journaling room. The Loyalty and Friends presents Speak Sister Brother Speak journaling. We do that every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. on the West Coast. It's for an hour, and we journal. And this is all genders. Men, stop thinking journaling is some diary shit. It's not. And I always say, if you think journaling is some diary shit, I got a great example for you. Tupac Shakur. He journaled all the time. They even made a book out of one of his journals where he wrote some of his raps. He did poetry. He had some artwork in it. And I say to anybody, especially some of these guys, if it's good enough for Pac, damn it, you telling me it ain't good enough for you? If Pac can do it, you tell me you can't do it, even if you don't like Pac as a rapper or as a person. If it's good enough for Pac, bro, come on. We just talking shop here. That's all. So I want to get back to the resolutions about the money. What are some of the other things that you teach your clients about financial literacy in a situation where they may be in a domestic violence relationship? What are some of the other tools that you guide them towards in terms of, here's something else that you should do or be aware of to secure your finances now that you're out of this situation?
Well, the first thing always, so this is going to be whether you're in a situation or not, is to pay yourself first. I don't want you thinking about, you know what, I need to pay this bill, I need to pay that bill, I need to pay this bill, we got to pay all these bills.
These bills.
But you're paying you first. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because without you, there's nothing.
It's nothing.
Everything falls apart without you. Everything
I'm
falls
looking.
apart.
I'm looking at my bookshelf over here because I got tons and tons of books, and I was trying to see. I have a book specifically that says "Pay Yourself First," and it goes into all of what you're talking about here. And I wish I had it nearby, but I think it's in the living room on the other bookshelf. But I'm glad that you say that, because a lot of times, especially with us melanated folks, because we may be in dire straits because we're working 3 jobs, we don't have the education that allows or forces us to only work 1 job. Um, we're living paycheck to paycheck, or like we were talking earlier, I'm just here, dog. I'm just I'm just I'm just surviving. If I get through today and I wake up tomorrow, different day, same shit. So
Mm.
it's so apropos that you're saying that, because we have to get past that and say, yeah, nobody knows when their end date is going to be. We know what day we were born and all this stuff. We don't know when we're going to take our last breath. However, that dash between your birth date and your date of death, what you do with it is important. So we're talking about financial planning, and you're a coach also. What are some of the coaching things? Give me the top 3 things that you see that people don't do enough of in regards to financial planning. You said pay yourself first. They don't do
Pay
enough of
yourself first, investing,
investing.
home ownership. I'm
Real
here to
estate.
tell you, if anybody is renting, we got to change that right now. And
Why is
what's
that?
really going on, it's a mentality. That's the whole thing. There's a shift. That's why I always start everything with, even on my shirt, it says money mindset.
Money
If I
mindset.
stand up, you might actually see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Money
And
mindset.
so what that means is you have to have a mind for money. You got to have a mind for money. You have to think of it as one of your best friends who you never want to let out of your sight unless they're going to work. And when they go to work, they're going to double and triple. That's the way I want you to think about your money. Not that I get my money and I go buy things. What kind of things are you buying? Are you buying things that are going to make money? Are you buying things that's going to go down in value? So
Hold on right there.
it's the whole thought.
Hold on right there, because I just got goosebumps when you said that. What she is talking about is assets versus
Liabilities.
liabilities. Thank you so much. Please explain that real quick, the difference between the two. Because go ahead and explain it and I'll add my 2 cents.
Absolutely. So an asset is something that's going to appreciate, which goes up in value, right? That's really it. Just think about it like this. Assets go up, liabilities go down. You need to have more assets than liabilities, period. That's really it. It's really that simple. So when you think about certain cars go down. However, there's certain cars that actually go up in value also, right?
Right.
There's certain things that go up in value. Homes go up in value. Real estate goes up in value. It appreciates. It gets equity. You can take that equity. I get so excited when we start thinking. I'm sure my voice has even changed. I can hear it myself. But there's equity that you can take advantage of. From grabbing that equity, now you can go get you another property. I love to talk about this one hack. I call it a real estate hack, which is where you actually buy, especially if you are not a homeowner yet, let your first home be an investment. And this is how you're going to do it. You get a fourplex. From that fourplex, you're going to live in one of the units, and the other 3 units you're going to rent out.
Okay.
Those other 3 units will pay for the entire building. Okay. As time goes on, depending on how you purchase this property. It's going to appreciate. Remember, rents go up. People are charging rent. Rents just went up.
I
So,
live in Charlotte, so yeah,
right? Rents
man,
go up. Very seldom do you hear about it going down. They go up. So rents always go up.
always.
Always. Even though we were having like a correction in the market right now, the
Oh, man.
rents still kept going up. So if you're an owner of that property, this is what happened. You owned the property. The rate that you came in, your mortgage rate, your payment stayed the same for 30 years. That's the mortgage that you got. However, you're charging rents this year, next year. Your mortgage is here. Next year, next year, next year. Your mortgage is here. This is profit. This is profit. This is why we have to begin to think differently. So I love that particular hack. And this is another thing about that particular hack. It qualifies for an FHA loan. The advantage of an FHA loan is it's 3.5% down.
Wow.
Okay? Here's the other thing. This is why I just love this one. Here's the other thing. You can use the market rents of the property, 75% of it, to qualify for the property.
Say that again.
You can use 75% of the market rents of the property to actually qualify for the property.
Wow. So if you got a house that you're looking at or a piece of property,
It has to be, in this
Has to-
case, it has to be an income property.
it has
So
to be-
that's why, exactly.
Gotcha.
So that's why when we're talking about a fourplex, you can live in one unit, but the other three you can rent out.
you're not.
And I'm gonna even
So-
give you something else a little powerful
Yeah.
because I'm on it now. I'm on it.
Come on.
Here's
Because
the
I
most
want
powerful thing, you
people to
guys.
understand we're talking about the money for a reason. So go
We're
ahead.
talking about the money because once you know it, once you understand it, you get excited about it and you see that it's possible for you. That's what I want you to know. You're not just listening to a show, you're listening to strategies that you can put into effect. And if you don't know how, that's when you reach out and get help. Come to the room. I'm giving you the game. I'm literally giving it to you.
Like Jay-Z said in his song The Story of OJ, you know, I'm giving you the game for $9.99. You know, like it went over so many people's heads. Like when he was talking about he bought a piece of art, you know, this year was worth 1 million, the next year is worth 2 million, next year is worth 8 million. You know, I ain't buying it for me, I'm leaving it for my children.
That's legacies. That's generational wealth.
Right. That's generational wealth. If you buy a fourplex, $100,000, let's just say, you're saying that you can get an FHA loan for 3.5% down, so that's $3,500 for a
Yes.
four
Fourplex.
unit house.
Fourplex, people. Fourplex. Now you're in an income producing property. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So I always say you have to know how to buy. You have to know how to buy. And if you don't know how, get with experts. Get that information. Shorten your curve. You don't have to live hard. You don't have to live hard. It's a choice. We're making choices here. Everything we've done are choices. Wherever you are right now, nobody did this to you. You made choices and you ended up here. So I want to be really clear on that because like I told you, I don't hold resentment against my ex-husband. I don't. I chose that guy. I brought him into my life. It was my poor choice. It was my poor choice. And it's not until you begin to take responsibility for the choices that you have, then you understand the power that you have. That's the other thing. You are a very, very powerful person. We're all making choices. So we just want to make the choices that lead to better outcomes. And that is what this podcast is about. That is what my rooms and my teaching are all about. It's about making choices that lead to a better outcome. When we make better choices, we get better things. We learn how to multiply our money. If no one's taught you how to do this, you don't know. If nobody told you about that little fourplex thing I just told you, how do you know? The reason why I know is because somebody shared it with me. I took a class. I take classes, and you guys, I take classes with investors. I go and have investors that I have one investor. He literally told me, he said, I don't teach, I just do.
Wow.
And I was like, but I need your knowledge. I need your knowledge. And he said, check it out. You got my number. So don't be afraid to ask people for help. That's another thing I do want to get out there.
Can
Don't
you
be
be more
afraid to
specific
ask for
about
help.
that? Yeah, be more specific about that. What help are you
Yes.
talking? What should be the questions?
I've been on Clubhouse, you guys, and we go on Clubhouse. That's how we met. That's how me and LP met, was from Clubhouse. And on Clubhouse, they have many, many rooms. So once again, it's about those choices, right? You can either go into a room that's full of toxicity, or you can go into a room that's really giving you knowledge, and knowledge that you can apply. And what happened was that I was in a room, in one of the real estate rooms, and someone actually went and called this gentleman in, and his name is Calvin Vitalis. So I'm going to give Calvin his props because he is worth it. But they called Calvin into the room, and Calvin came in and he just started giving game, just coming out with all kind of stuff. But it was so good. And then he's a really special person, because I remember someone else got on stage and they tried to question him. I would put it that way. And he was just so classy the way that he handled it, which was, he just said, look, I'm an investor. This is what I do. Someone actually called me and asked me to come in here and share this knowledge. I'm not saying there's not different ways to make money. I'm just telling you the way that I make money. So this is what I'm doing, and this is how I do it. And so I can help you with the way that I do it. And it was like, from that, I had just back channeled him. So that's what I mean about reaching out to someone. Just back channeled him, told him that I appreciated the knowledge that he was giving. And most of all, I appreciated how classy he handled that situation, because I really did. I thought he was really classy, and I admired that. And I asked him, if you have any classes at all, let me know about it. It's clear you got a lot of knowledge, and I want to get some. That's really it. And from there, he goes, hey, I'm going to call you now. What's your number? And we jumped on a phone. We talked, and he says, I usually don't do classes. He goes, but somebody else asked me too. And he asked me the same question. Why did you call me? What was it? And I told him all of those things. And he says, well, you know what? Maybe I will put together a class, but I really don't do classes. This is just what I do. Mm-hmm. And he really put together a class. There was a few of us that were able to attend that class, and he went over everything that he does. Oh. And what he did that was more importantly was, he said, stay connected with me. Stay connected with me. I got you. Wherever it is, if you want to do something better, just let me know. You're trying to put a deal together, let me know. You need me to hold your hands, let me know. I'm going to hold your hand. Matter of fact, he even called me today, just as an example, because there's other things. So I stay in communication with him. He's just a great person to know. So my point is, there's great people out there. When you see them, closed mouths don't get fed. So reach out, and they may reach back out. I'm not going to say always, but I know in my case, it has been a really, really great experience. And I know if someone was to reach out to me, and I say it all the time, I got you. And when I mean I got you, that means I really got you. If you're sincere, and if you want something else, you want something better, and you're willing to put in the work, I got you.
Credit. What say you about credit?
Credit is so important.
What's your overall view about credit? Just generally speaking, that you like to educate people on?
Credit needs to be used wisely. Credit means someone has said they trusted you enough to let you borrow. That's all credit is. Credit is a loan. So I think it's important first to understand what it is, to understand that it should not be used frivolously. Christmas is here, you guys.
That's right.
Do not use your credit cards trying to buy all these gifts. Don't do that. Some of these credit cards rates are as high as 29%. Some of these credit cards actually say that if you pay them off within 25 days, I said 25, I didn't say 30. So I want you guys to pay attention to all of your credit card statements. I would actually invite you to take a look at them. Look and see what the interest rates are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are not paying off those credit cards within that 25 days, not 30, because it's 25 days, because on day 26, that's when they're going to start charging you.
Ooh.
So pay attention. That's why I'm saying pay attention. A lot of times people are of the mind that, well, no, most of my bills is every 30 days. So not those credit cards. Check them.
25 days.
25 days. Also, check the interest rates. Get the interest rates lowered on all the ones that you have. If you have been paying your credit cards on time, all the time, pick up the telephone, call, see if you can get those rates reduced. It's the interest rates that make you went and you had a meal and you paid $100 for the meal. That's an example.
Okay.
But you put it on the credit card. Well, you didn't pay it off. And it's on there for 30 days. Now 60 days. Now 90 days. Every time it's 29% more you're paying.
Okay.
So now that's what, $129? And it was something that was only $100. And then it's going over and over every month. So it's important that when you get ready to buy something, know when you're going to be able to pay it off. And if you can't pay it off, don't buy it. Don't buy it. The only thing that you need to be putting on credit is your mortgage, your home, your car, because you do need transportation to get back and forth. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But even so, you still want to make sure you're getting good rates. And the way to get good rates is to make sure and maintain your credit. Maintain your credit so that when you go shopping, you're not paying the high astronomical double digits in fees, that you are under that. So just look, shop around, be careful of the cards that you are getting. Be careful. Just be really, I just say be really careful when it comes to credit, because credit could really hurt you. It's a lot of debt associated with credit. And remember, we were talking about earlier was our assets and liabilities. Well, debt is a liability. So if you got credit cards, right, we're paying $300, $400, $1,000. I mean, big fees that you're doing here. Just think about that money could have been stacked for your down payment for your home. Mm-hmm. And it's something else when you go, I'm going to use credit, but I'm going to use it because I'm going to make more money, right? I'm going to buy this home. And let's say I got to deck it out. I got to make it pretty because I'm getting ready to sell it. I need to do some repairs and things like that. That's okay. And the reason why I say it's okay, because that's an investment and you're going to get more money.
That's right.
It's something different when I go, oh, it's Christmas time and I'm buying gifts for kids and I just want to look really good and I'm portraying and I'm living a fake life with credit.
Clout chasing. I say that's the what do they used to say? The idle time is the devil's workshop or whatever. That clout chasing is that same shit. You're trying to impress people. You know, people will spend, you know, hundreds of dollars on a Gucci belt, but they won't take that same. Let's say it costs you $100 to buy a Gucci belt. I don't know how much it costs. I'm just saying. They'll take that $100 and they'll rob Peter to pay Paul or whatever they got to do to get. They're getting that Gucci belt. Here, you may offer a class or a training that might be a third of that, you're going to get every excuse in the book. They're going to try to bargain with you. They're going to, they're going to try to get a hookup, all of this stuff or whatever. So we got to stop that shit. Like, seriously, like we got to. I'm not saying don't get the Gucci belt. You can do whatever you want to do with your money. It's yours. Use it wisely. That's all we're saying. You want to buy a Gucci belt? Buy a Gucci belt. But don't rob Peter to pay Paul to get your damn Gucci belt. You believe in God? God don't bless you with no bill. That's all we're saying. You put yourself in that situation. You got to get yourself out of it. And we're just giving you the information because this is the Trigger Warning Talk podcast. We have uncensored conversations. We exchange information. We provide resources. We titled this episode, The Contracts. We talked about that. The abuses. We talked about those things. And the resolutions with our guest, Cheryl Gibson, financial guru. On the screen here, I got your social media links on here. I got your website on here. I'm going to provide that information in the show notes so people can get in touch with you. You want to get in touch with Miss Cheryl? I give you the real quick, simple way. Go pull up a web browser. It could be Chrome. It could be Safari. It could be Windows. Cheryl10k.com. That's going to give you the link to all of these things that I want to put into the show notes. I got one final question for you, Ms. Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to the missing person story. If you could write a letter or an email to little Cheryl, little bitty Cheryl, what would you say?
First, I would say, good job. Good job. And forgive yourself. So the reason why I said forgive yourself is because I did make mistakes in the beginning. But what I do love that I was able to do was learn from those mistakes and not put the blame on him, but actually take it myself and look at what I was doing, look at the parts that I played. Because the only person that I was able to change and improve was me. So that being said, that would be it. The first thing I would tell little Cheryl would be, first, always look inward. Continue to improve yourself. Know you can always get better. And like I said, forgive yourself for the mistakes that you have made. And more importantly, celebrate the successes that you have been able to do. And just continue helping others. I just think the sincerity, I think it's there. I hope it's coming through. And that's pretty much what I would say, would just be to trust yourself and pay attention to those flags. They were there for a reason. Pay attention to the flags.
Yes. Flags don't wave without a breeze. So when you get a whiff of that stank ass air, that's that toxicity that's blowing that red flag, pay attention. Flags don't fly without wind. And that stank ass air that we call toxicity in your intimate partnership, in your family, in your friendship, with your coworkers, with some strangers, stank is stank all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. Cheryl Gibson, I want to thank you so much for joining the Trigger Warning Talk podcast. You got anything else that's coming down the pipe that you want to promote or talk about? You got any books that you have written or any classes outside of what we talked about, or what's going on with you before we move to this missing person story? Because I'm just still excited.
Okay. Well, as we end the year, I definitely want us to start 2023 off with a bang and actually making sure that we got all our money together. So in January, I am going to be hosting a financial fitness class. And in the financial fitness class, really, it's going to make sure that you are together from head to toe. And what does that mean? That you're doing, like I said, those pillars, which are making sure that you're saving more, that you're making more, that you're actually multiplying. And my zone of genius, you guys, is real estate and stocks. So we're all about making sure that you can invest that money and grow that money. Also protect it so that you can really create generational wealth. I hate hearing about GoFundMe's. I do. And what happens a lot of time is because people just have not, they will go ahead and pay $7 a day for a Starbucks coffee. And you won't pay to have your term insurance policy that will cover you and your family. So I just want us to change our mindsets, love ourselves enough to prepare, get ourselves in position so that we really can create generational wealth, so that each generation is doing better than the one before. And my family, we've been able to do that. And I want you to be able to do that for your family. There's so much we can do, you guys. Please, please, please tune in. Please, please, please book your call. Everybody's situation is different. So if you do go to Cheryl10k.com, you can book a free strategy call. You can find out where you are. You can tell me where you want to be, and we can craft a strategy to get you there. So those are the two offers. And it's free.
She said it's free. It's free 99. It don't
free
cost
99.
And
you know what, you guys? Because by law, it has to be free because I'm in the securities industry, okay? So let it benefit you. Get this information. And I'm here to tell you also, many, many people in this industry that I'm in, that's one of the reasons why I got into it. Many, many people in this industry will not even meet with anyone that makes under 5 figures. They won't. They just won't do it. They said it's not worth it. And my thing is, everybody is worth it. My thing is that this knowledge has been kept away from our people. It's the people that don't have the money that need to know how to make some money.
Yeah, we ain't got to talk to one that make it. They just learning how to utilize it more for their benefit. But everybody is not born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And so I'm so glad that you said the thing about the GoFundMe, because I got a whole spiel about that. I don't want to say nothing about it because I'm going to get an attitude and it's going to come off like I got an attitude, which I really do, but not towards you.
I know.
It's like these Dallas Cowboy fans. Now, I don't hate them personally. I just hate that mindset that, we're the greatest fans in the world and we're going to win every year. And it's like, but you're not. And it ain't happening like that. And the same thing happens when we're talking about like these GoFundMe sources or the utilization of it. And I'm not saying it doesn't have its place. No, we're not saying that at all. We're saying that should not be your primary source of your life insurance or lack thereof. If there's a medical problem, that shouldn't be, we don't have medical insurance, so we're just going to start a GoFundMe to raise the money. No, we're not saying that. We're saying that whatever you need to do to ensure that you are covered with life insurance, with medical insurance, you got to have car insurance, all of these different things. That's part of being an adult, not grown. We're talking about adults here. We're talking about being a responsible adult, whether you're in a great marriage or you're in a fucked up domestic violence situation. Everything is relative. The other thing that I like that you always talk about, Ms. Cheryl, is it's free. Some things you're going to pay for, but all this stuff that we're talking about, it is free. You ain't got to rob Peter to pay Paul, like I said earlier. And you are willing to meet people where They are. If you got an excuse after this podcast, that's on you, dog. Clean hands, right? Clean hands. I done my part. I checked off all the boxes. Matter of fact, I drew in some boxes and wrote in some shit and checked them off because I made sure I did some double duty to get you the information that you need. This Trigger Warning Talk podcast is not just about trauma. It's about resolutions. It's about action plans. Yeah, we start off talking about the shit, but we end up talking about how to get out of the shit. What do you need to do to seek help? And you are providing what we need to seek help. I'm going to show you something that I got on my wall. This is from Mrs. LP. So if y'all ain't watching this podcast, you better watch it. You see this? I got this from
Okay, I love it.
So it is a plaque that I got from her, and it has the EMS Star of Life on the left side of it. And it says, "Not all superheroes wear capes." People call me a superhero or a hero because I'm a paramedic and a firefighter. Yes, I've saved lives. I've been awarded clinical life-saving awards, multiple awards. I've been published in U.S. News and World Reports. I got all these accolades and licenses and certifications and all this shit or whatever. You know what makes you a superhero? You're doing something that I'm doing. It's just a different thing. My work was with public safety, public health, mental health, and stuff. Your work in teaching people financial literacy, especially those that are dealing in these domestic violence situations, that's some life-saving shit, because these people not only have to escape those traumas, they got to rebuild from scratch. Like you said, I've been in that situation before. You've been in that situation before. You are an ordinary person that has dedicated your life to helping others do some extraordinary shit with knowledge, with strength, with courage, and wisdom. Not all superheroes wear capes, folks. Cheryl Gibson, you are officially on my superhero wall.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mrs. LP loves you. And we just want to have these conversations with action plans. So I'm going to go ahead and bid you adieu because I got to get to this missing person case before
Thank you.
I got to move on to the next thing. You can always come back on this podcast. You got an open invite. We're going to come up with some more things to talk about in reference to the stuff that we deal with in the money, because we just scratched the surface. We just scratched the surface. I didn't even get into, see, I did a great job. You need to tell Mrs. LP, he didn't even get into the 27 parts. Okay,
I know you did do good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even get into the 27 parts yet. So I want to thank you so much. Tell Mr. Wayne that we love him.
I certainly will.
I will see you in these clubhouse streets.
Thank you, LP. It's been my pleasure. I enjoyed it. I really did. And I'm really here to help you guys. So please, please, please DM me. Reach out. I got you.
Oh, we're going to have your information in these show notes. So I want to thank you again, and you have a great day.
Thank you. You do the same.
All right. That's Cheryl Gibson, folks. I'm telling y'all better get with her. Free 99. She said, I'm going to move over to this missing person case that Mrs. LP gave me the information on. This is about a young kid. His name is Jalik Rainwalker. This kid is from New York, Troy, New York. And I'm just going to play the news story.
All new at 6 tonight, it's been 14 years since a Washington County 12-year-old was last seen. Despite all that time, his adoptive grandmother remains hopeful that this painful mystery will one day be solved. CBS 6's JT Fetch spoke with her tonight. He joins us live now in the studio with more on this case. JT.
Well, Greg, Jaliek Rainwalker hasn't been heard from since November of 2007. It is something that's weighed heavy on his grandmother, Barbara, really ever since, but it has not eliminated her hope. There has been simply no sign of Jaliek in those 14 years. Now, several years ago, the case itself was reclassified as a probable homicide. And back in 2017, at the 10-year mark, Cambridge Greenwich Police told CBS 6 News they had continued to look for possible leads. And that year, a partial skull was actually found in Coxsackie, but it turned out not to be Jaliek's remains. Also that year, police told us Jaliek's adoptive father was still a person of interest, but his attorney said then that was unfortunate because Jaliek's parents believed he would still someday come back home. Now, Barbara, who has since moved to Florida to be with family after her husband's passing, says she just wants closure, and she's been encouraged by the renewed interest in missing persons cases through social media and podcasts, using crimes like the Gabby Petito case as an example.
I've done several interviews. There have been a couple podcasts. I participate in anything and everything. I hope, in my lifetime that, I'll know what happened to Jaliek and be able to, put him to rest as far as nobody deserves to be, put aside and, and hidden or.
And really says tonight that Jaliek's case has been tough on her in many ways. She says she hasn't seen her daughter or her grandchildren in 14 years because of the disappearance and the circumstances surrounding it. Now, I have a call and email into Cambridge Greenwich Police tonight, left a message for the department head to see if they have any update on the search for Jaliek Rainwalker. I have not yet heard back. Greg?
If you have any information on Mr. Jaliek Rainwalker, call the New York State Police at 1-800-GIVE-TIPS. I will have the link to this story in the show notes so you can watch the video again of that. If you are listening to this audio interview, you can pull it up from the show notes also. I want to thank again, Cheryl Gibson, the financial guru, for joining us here on the Trigger Warning Talk podcast. In closing, live in awareness, never live in fear. Keep your head on the swivel. Make sure you watch your surroundings, folks. It's not a matter of if, but when and where an active violence situation is going to happen. And it can and will happen anywhere. Anywhere. I get breaking news stories every day from across the world, especially here in the States. Live in awareness, never live in fear. For the Trigger Warning Talk podcast, I thank you. Mrs. LP thanks you. LP out.